Title belts to Hall of Fame. Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage.
Hey everybody, welcome back once again to Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich. Guys, how we doing this week?
Shoot, life's a beautiful thing, man. I'm glad to be here again this week. I want to say hey to all the fans. Y'all keep tuning in, clicking us up, whatever Doug and Gene calls that. Just keep clicking them buttons for us. But anyway, I hope everybody had a good Super Bowl weekend. I think I had more of the drinking and the good time going on. I'm a little hungover today. But anyway, man, it's just good to be here. Good to see you, Gene. Good to see you, Dougie.
Man, it's great to see y'all guys. I hope y'all have had a good week. And I think what Tommy's trying to say, rate, review, and subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on. And, Gene, Tommy's a big Kansas City fan, and I was kind of a big Eagles fan. So I guess Tommy lost it. No, I'll be honest, I don't like the Eagles. I was just playing.
I was going to say, I saw the second half, and I haven't seen a job like that since the studio wrestling days. I mean, they got squashed like the shadow.
I was going to say, they got squashed like I did when I got started in the business.
Shoot. Hey, don't forget May the 3rd. We're going to be up there, right? May the 3rd.
Yeah, that's right. Y'all going to go up there, and I plan on going as well up there to the home of the Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. And we heard all about that last week from Joel Goodhart. I think he may still be talking somewhere about it right now. I don't know, but
man, and what's still cool about that is like me thinking about, when we was up there with ECW and everything, and then Tommy went up there later with ECW, but my brother Eddie actually getting in the ring with Ron Jaworski, ain't that how you say his name? The ex-quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. That was really a cool deal.
See, Ron Jaworski, now he was there in my time period. What I'm talking about.
That's what I'm saying. And they did a little angle where yeah, they did a little angle, Tommy, where he got in the ring, Eddie got in the ring, then Eddie kind of challenged him, he got in the ring. He was really over up there.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about that. Like, you guys have a history up there. Eddie had a big history up there. So, like we talked about last week, it's really going to be really cool to be able to be there that day for the fan fest, where you guys get to meet the fans and hang out and sign autographs, and then for you guys to get to wrestle in that building as the Memphis Mafia, which will be a first because the Big Don's been there, the Dark Patriots been there, but never have the Memphis Mafia competed right there in that arena.
We sure hadn't. That's going to be really cool and mean a whole lot to me, Gene. And and like you said, it's like a meet and greet, right? That starts, I think, at like 3 or something like that.
Noon to 3.
Okay, and that'll be real cool. And then later on that night, we have the matches, and I think me and Tommy are going to be against the Memphis Mafia, be against Shane Douglas, the franchise, and he supposedly got a ECW original that's going to be his partner, and everybody's making a big deal out of that, and they say it's one of the original guys, so we'll see who that is. Me and Tommy be ready, no matter who it is. Right, Tommy?
Yes, sir. I couldn't have said it no better myself. Hey, that Philadelphia arena there, that's a heck of a place for wrestling, ECW. I mean, Dougie was there at the get-go of it. I was there in 98 or somewhere in that time. It was 98, I think, when I went up there at the first. And just to go back and then beat the Memphis Mafia. Hey, there was 2 Memphis Mafias. Elvis had his and wrestling had ours. And we was the wrestling Memphis Mafia. So, looking forward to coming up there as the Mafia, seeing all the fans. It's going to be a great time. And it's going to be a little gravy. Shane, bring who you want. It don't matter. because I guarantee you, Dangerous and myself will be ready.
Yeah, they had better be extreme. But I tell you another day it's going to be a good time, and you guys are going to have a busy day that day. Coming up on March the 1st, you guys are going to be meeting and greeting at the Jackson Comic Con. What is it? I mean, I think it's like 9 to about 2 or 3 o'clock that day, Doug.
It's like 9 a.m. to I think 3 or 4 that you can come and meet myself, Tommy. There's going to be a bunch of characters there, and it'll be at the Carl Perkins Civic Center. And like I said, it's supposed to be full of different characters. And like I said, 2 of them right here on this, and myself and Tommy will be there. And if you want pictures made or buy pictures or take pictures or talk or whatever, it's going to be I think it'll be a big turnout. They have this once a year and everything. It'll be the first time actually that me and Tommy has been to this comic expo. And like I said, it's at the Carl Perkins Civic Center, downtown Jackson, Tennessee. Everybody come out. Like I said, big meet and greet with Tommy, myself, and all the other characters there.
Yeah, and hey, I'm fired up about that too. I've done a couple of the Comic Cons, man, to see some of the folks in their outfits. I mean, of course, when Dougie said it right, though, there's going to be a cast of characters, and we will be two of the characters there. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. Anytime I get to come to Jackson and see Doug and just, we get to socialize a little bit, and then plus get to go see the fans. It's going to be a big afternoon in Jackson. Then we're going to end up in Blytheville, Arkansas, doing a big fundraiser for St. Jude's Hospital. So I'm excited about that. Going back to Blytheville again and getting to do a fundraiser to help out with the St. Jude's Hospital, man, that's big too. We get to do a lot of good things now.
Gene, you see Trump's back in office. Tommy's got me and him both working double time now, right?
That's right. Our subject today is USWA, and man, it's a throwback to the USWA time for you guys to head over, hit a show in Jackson, and then hop in the car and book it on over to Blytheville, Arkansas. Man, it's going to be just like old times, right?
Hey,
like doing that Memphis TV and going to Jonesboro, Arkansas. We used to hit Tupelo Friday night, come in, do Memphis TV Saturday morning, and then haul butt to Jonesboro to do it that night. So, yeah, that brings back some of the old days too, man. I'm excited.
And you know what, Gene? That's what's so cool about all this to us. And I mean, us three sitting here talking and everything, but you think back about like us doing this things Saturday morning to Saturday afternoon and jumping in the car, taking off over to Blytheville, and then jumping out of the car and doing a signing over there, and matches that night and everything. Man, it's just a really cool deal for Tommy and myself both.
It is, man. You guys are blessed to still be able to get out there and do that. A lot of guys are sitting home thinking about the good old days and how they used to get to do that, and you guys are still out there making it happen, and fans are getting to meet you. And folks, make sure you take advantage of this. It's not every day you get to meet a couple legitimate Memphis legends and 2 members of the Memphis Mafia. So don't miss out on these opportunities.
And you know what, Gene? I was just saying, and I want this to always be a positive thing, not a negative thing. But I was telling Tommy the other day, the guys had called me up, and there was talking about wanting to book us and everything, and we're getting together about different dates and everything. But they said, Doug, there's, we used to could get 10 of y'all, you and Tommy, plus 8 more of the guys from the past. And he said, there's you and Tommy and maybe 1 or 2 more. But what they was talking about, Memphis legends from the 80s, 90s, like that. And they said, but Doug, there's not many of y'all left anymore. And I said, like I said, I always want to be positive. I think, well, there's still guys out there you can get to come and sign a few things, but me and Tommy are 2 of the only ones that are still actually competing and doing everything that we used to do, I would like to say.
Like I say, you guys are very fortunate, very blessed to still get to do that. And I know you guys love meeting the fans and hearing their memories and the what they remember about seeing you guys. And I'm sure most of the time it's, I remember when y'all beat up my, my favorite, but they still love you guys nonetheless. So it's cool.
Oh yeah. That's a lot of the time, but this, a couple weekends back over here at Arkansas, I got to hear all the Tommy, when he started stories. They come up to the table, a couple, I guess when he was started, there'd been young ladies back then. There's a little bit older ladies now, but they was telling me, talking about stories about different matches, and they wasn't saying angles, but I'm saying angles that Tommy was in when he started, and they'd get over me, and I'd get them to talking, and they'd tell me stuff about them. Man, like I said, it's just cool talking to the fans and getting out there, and you know, and I mean, it's the real world, but I mean, and we love to go out to, and I don't say Arkansas, Tennessee, everywhere is country, but I mean, you meet some country fans that have watched, like I said, watched Tommy from when he started and everything, and then watched all the stuff through that era, through the 80s, through the 90s, through, and man, it's just cool to get to talk to them and hear their stories and their enthusiasm.
And even like Dougie said, but even the new blood, like he talked about the old fans that used to come and still, you know, still remember us and still show out to see us. I mean, and that's a cool bond. But what's really cool when you know, like 11, 12-year-old kid comes up to you and knows more about the wrestling, my time of wrestling than I do. And it's where their parents or grandparents have turned them on to, you know, the old school wrestling. They've watched it on YouTube. And so, you know, we picked up a lot of new fans, young kids, and that's really cool to me to be an old man and, you know, 12, 13-year-old boy come up and say, hey, I seen some good film on you, you know, watch some good matches. I mean, you're really good. I mean, that's, you know, that gives me goosebumps now, man. Yeah, it's cool, man, just decades of, shoot, I'm almost 50 years now, about 50 years in. So, you know.
Hey, Gene, they had Tommy so excited the other night. He was going to start the match. And I thought, what's wrong with you? You don't never start a match. And but when we was on the way out there, he was going to start. By the time we got in the ring, I said, hold on a second here. Let's don't change this act up. You get out and let me start this match. And if you looked at him, he put one leg through the rope, and I said, no, once you get back in, you start. And then he looked at me, and I said, I'm just playing. Get out. And everything, but you talking about funny, I laughed. It was just you'd have.
Oh, then he went and did the same thing I was going to do.
That's why he didn't want you to get here and do it first.
I said, "What the heck?"
And you know, Jeannie's telling the truth. We got back. I said, "Do you see that start of that match?" I said, "I just listened to what you said, and I said I decided I'd do it."
He ain't playing either.
Man, that's another great thing too, man. You guys always come back from these shows and you've always got some fun stories and always have a good time when you're out there on the road and doing it, you know, whether it's meeting the fans or in the ring, you know, there's fun stuff like that. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
So another fun time. Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It really is cool, Gene. You don't know how cool it is, how much of a good time we have just meeting the people and everything.
Well, another fun time in your guys' career was 1994 in the USWA. Towards the end of 93, Doug, you and Eddie returned to Memphis. You know, you guys had kind of been all over the place during the year. You'd spent a lot of time in Japan. You guys had spent time up in Philadelphia working for ECW, which I know we'll talk about more in the future. Tommy, I don't think you were in Memphis the entire year of 93, but no, I take that back. You dipped in and had a little feud with Jeff Jarrett that we're fixing to talk about very soon here on the Retro Wrestling Review podcast. You came in August and worked with Jeff Jarrett for the USWA title. So we're going to talk about that real soon. But other than that, it had been a while since you had been in Memphis when you came back in January of 94. And, man, you're talking about starting things off right. On New Year's Day on Memphis TV, Doug, you and Eddie wrestled Jerry Lawler and Brian Christopher. And that's a big match to have on TV.
Oh, yeah, it's a big match to have on TV. But every once in a while, I think it's good to give the people – well, I mean, I think it's good to give them – you can't give them everything on TV, but I think every once in a while you need to give them stuff like that on TV. And that's what we say we want people to pay to see, but I think every once in a while giving it to them, because the one thing about most of all of our matches, every night the match was different. And I can't say that about everybody, but I mean, so you could do it on TV, and it wasn't like you was going to have the same match that Monday night or that Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. And a lot of those weeks, Gene, we wrestled each other every night of the week. I mean, a lot of people just think it happened in Memphis, or it just happened in Louisville, or it just happened in Evansville, or it just happened in Nashville. Between Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday, you had Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. I mean, and a lot of those weeks we would work, every night, and a lot of the nights, which like Lawler had his obligations for different things and wouldn't come to certain shows where the rest of us would go to all of them and everything. But I mean, it was like I said, for TV, keep TV hot, and the town's going off it. But man, it was, like I said, the people didn't realize, I mean, how much we actually wrestled one another. And I mean, it wasn't, and to us, and Tommy can tell you his outlook and thought on it, and my brother, I'd listened to his thoughts on different things before, but man, it got to the point a lot of times with a lot of guys, Gene, that we didn't where people would think you would talk about wrestling, or we would just, that's the only thing that we would have in common. We had everything else in common except wrestling. In the ring, we worked hard, and the main thing that any of us cared about, we loved the business, but what we cared about was the finish. And as far as matches, me talking about matches that we've had and Tommy was in and I was in, we might not even talk to nobody about nothing but the finish. It wasn't nothing was scripted out. Yeah. Nothing was laid out from first to end of the match, or I mean, they might have been one thing said, or I might just come up with something in the car and say, hey, Tommy, I want to do this. And that wasn't real often, but every once in a while I'd have something I wanted to try different, or I thought would be cool. And Tommy might have something every once in a while, but it was nothing was scripted out that we did. That's what I think is cool about it now.
Oh, I wouldn't even be in the business. Eddie Graham, he used to have the longest finishes. He'd have like a 15-minute finish, I mean, yeah, that was, that ad-libbing Bob Armstrong, I'm sure I've said it before, but he called it Shakespeare's vaudeville. I mean, you go out and you ad-lib. And that's what the big fun part of the business was too, though. I mean, and like Doug was saying, we was on the road 6-7 days a week. You know the difference between a truck driver and a wrestler?
What's that?
Is the truck driver, when he gets to where he's got to go, they unload his truck. When we got to the town, we had to get out and wrestle and then go back to the next town. So we had really a little harder than the truck driver, if you think about it.
That's right. They climb in the back of the cab and sleep, and y'all are taking bumps.
They get that truck unloaded. We inside wrestling.
That's a good point.
They might have been a little bit smarter than us, too. They'd stay at the town where we drive all the way back, then drive back up.
Yeah. So that led to that Monday night on the 10th of January. I'm not going to go through the whole card, but I really want to ask you guys about some of the names on this card that maybe we haven't talked about on the show here before. And one guy in the opening match who, spoiler, was supposed to be our guest this week. We had some technical difficulties. He's going to be a guest here real soon. But tell me a little bit of what comes to mind when I say Reggie B fine to you guys.
Reggie B, Jerry Lawler's boy.
The Candy Man.
The Candy Man. There he is.
The Candy Man. That's what I was going to say. And which now, Gene's the one promising you, Reggie. I don't promise you, Reggie, because I told Gene that we'd have to be able to get Reggie on here. And it ain't, if we was on the phone, Reggie would be on here right now. But we're not on the phone, so he's not. But anyway, I think of different things. It's funny when Gene said this to me about Reggie, but the Candy Man the Candyman gimmick was funny to me. I don't know, Tommy, if you even remember, he wore like a suit, didn't he, Gene, with some stripes on it?
Yeah.
Baby
face.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you thought I was saying the gimmick man, didn't you? But his name.
No, not that Candy.
Yeah, his name, Tommy, was the Candy Man, and I popped that always gets over with me, but that. And just Reggie himself, and then you think, what I think of is different little runs and airs. There's the Blackbirds when it's him and Iceman Parsons and Brickhouse. Because really, I think that was the only time that Iceman had ever come in here to Memphis and worked the loop and stuff. So that added a little deal to it. And I think Reggie worked hard with those with those guys. Tried to, as far as not so much his character, as far as like he was just Reggie B fine. He tried to actually wrestle, which Reggie can wrestle a little bit and everything. But with those guys, I think they've made him, get into character as far as wrestling and everything.
Well, we'll wait till Reggie's on here to talk about King Reginald and Reem Olajuwon and some of the other aliases of
hey, he's the only one had about as many aliases as Jeff Jarrett. So I mean, we can talk about 2 dozen of them probably.
Yeah, he has some aliases in the ring, and then I'm sure he's got a few outside the ring that we probably doesn't want us to bring up on here, so we won't go there. But another guy on the card, and this is very early in his career. He come in. He was the Spellbinder. The King told him, said, hey, I don't think you're quite ready to work the gimmick yet. So then he went to being himself, Del Rios. And then eventually he goes back to being the Spellbinder. But here, early on, he's wrestling Jamie Dundee in a singles match. What do you guys remember about the very, very early days of working with Del Rios?
Well, I remember right when he come in and they told me, he said, Doug, it was when Brian was working with somebody else. I said, we're going to put you with this guy, and he's a little bit green, but just help him. Got him through some matches and everything. But now here's the thing. Dale asked me the other day. I still talk with Dale quite a lot. At least once a week or so. He said, dude, when y'all going to have me on the show? So sometime when you want Dale on the show, he can get on here and talk with us and everything. But I remember when Dale come, Dale's whole deal, right? He signed with Vince for the World Bodybuilding, what is it called, the World Bodybuilding Federation?
Yeah, that was his bodybuilding.
Yeah, that was his company, and when that company defunct or failed or whatever you would say, he still had a few guys on contract, and he liked Dale and Dale looked great. Dale still looks great today. He looks. If you guys seen him, he looks today like he did last time. Tommy's when we worked with him in Memphis. Tommy looked great, didn't he?
Oh yeah, and when we seen him, he looked. But going back to when I first met him, that's what I remember. He was blown up big,
Yeah.
He cut down, and but he looks, just phenomenal. He still looks phenomenal. But I just remember the first time I met him, how big he was a big boy, but it just but a good fella too, man. I always got along with Dale really good.
And Gene, me and him worked around the loop a few times together. Then I worked with him in a bunch of spot shows. And I went up to him and I asked him what he wanted to do, which, all of the big man stuff, like all the big men did. I told him that was cool, but I wanted to do something different with him and it'd be good. And we just did a few different wrestling things, just simple. Simple, like hip toss me out of the corner, but simple wrestling type stuff. And and he liked it, and he was good, and he listened, and like I said, Dale's a great dude. He's a good Christian guy, everything now, and but like I said, when he first got here, wrestling was just fresh to him. It was not, he was a bodybuilder. He was not a wrestler. He'll tell you that he was, but he was a great bodybuilder. I was trying to think of the guy's name that was one like Mr. World. Do you remember when he was Shock and Awe, when the tag team was called Shock and Awe? Can you remember what his partner was named to? He was like I said, Mr. World, or he won something that was like one of the biggest bodybuilding titles that you could ever have. And I'm giving you a headache trying to think of his name.
I'm trying to think, because what's sad is I just watched some of that. I found those clips of you from then, and there's a tag match with you and
it's like the guy's name is just like a last name or something, but he's like he was Mr. World Bodybuilder, but him and Dale wound up being big buddies. But he had signed with Vince, and that's how he come down there, and they put them together. And it was just freaking huge. Their arms was bigger than our 3 heads and everything. But like I said, Dale's a great guy.
Pretty big. That's pretty big. Gene's got a big old head.
I do.
But
not much in there, but it's big.
But anyway, no, like I said, Dale's a great dude. And did you say he wrestled Reggie that night?
No, Reggie wrestled Kip Morris and Dale wrestled Jamie Dundee.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see that match of Dale and Jamie. That had to be a good one.
Yeah.
Settle down, Jamie. Settle down, Jamie.
Yeah,
Hey,
dude.
man, come on.
Yeah, dude, what do you mean? But anyway, no.
I wish Reggie was on here tonight because I'd sure talk about that doggone match. I mean, the football stadium we just did recently. Me and Dougie against Spellbinder and Reggie. And we were supposed to be the heels. That never did happen. But,
I'm still scratching my head at that one.
We'll get Reggie on here to talk about that one. That'll be a good match to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, he called me the.
He wasn't planning on wrestling, but he did. He said it's hard. It's hard.
He called me the other day, Gene.
We'll talk about on Reggie. He on Sanford's.
You have the big one, huh?
Big one.
Yeah, he called me the other day and said, "Man," he said, "Tommy had me in that corner." He said, just stay over here with me and it'll be all right. And I thought, well, what wasn't going to be all right with me? But he was really funny. And he said, because, man, you know, I was for real scared. And what got me was when me and Tommy was going out there, I said, you know what? I had never even really thought as far as a thought about somebody not getting in the ring. But I said, I don't know which one of these guys are going to get in the ring. I knew Dale would, but Reggie said, man, I can't wrestle. And when he said that to me and Tommy, I said, well, Reggie, it's a freaking tag match. What do you mean you can't wrestle? He said, man, I had about, what's it been now, a year and a half ago probably, Gene, that he had open heart surgery, which he really did have open heart surgery.
Yeah, but he said he hadn't been in the ring since then either.
Yeah. He said, man, I'm scared.
Dougie told him, well, he said, well, at least in here to know how to work.
Yeah. I said, all you have to do is get in the ring. I said, you don't have to take a bump. I said, it will be fine. But it'd be good to let Tommy, when you get him on here, Gene, let him tell the story himself. And it'd be a lot funnier than me and Tommy telling it. But he did tell me, Tommy said, Reggie, just stay over here with me and you'll be all right. And I thought, oh my goodness.
Keep him away from old Dirty Doug.
That's because Dougie used to rough him up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He was the enforcer on our team, Doug.
Shoot, I don't know about that.
But yeah, Dale's a great guy, and I got a chance to interview him a couple of months ago. And man, he's got such an interesting story, you know, in and out of the ring, and you know, we got shot in New York City.
That's what I was going to say. Did he tell you about the shooting and all that?
Yeah, it's wild. But my favorite thing about when I think about that story, around the same time, you know, they put Bert Prentice with Dale on TV so he'd have a mouthpiece because, like you said, Dale's, you know, he's new. Yeah. And so Bert brings him out on TV and he tells that whole story. You know, he got shot and then he's dying on the sidewalk, and they tell the whole thing. It's real dramatic. And
hey, do that again. You sound just like Bert.
He shot poor Dale. He was dying on the sidewalk, and then he took the bullet out and ate it. But it's so Dave's all emotional, you know, and everybody gets real. I mean, it gets pretty heavy in the studio, you know, and they leave. And in the next segment, here come you and Eddie. Do you remember what Eddie said?
What did he say? We was probably back there crying.
You got on up in the ring because you didn't have an interview scheduled. So you went up to the ring. Eddie makes a beeline over to the desk, and you can see it on Dave's face. Dave's like, oh, shit. Eddie goes, Dave. He said, Spellbinder and Bert out here telling this story, you know, like it's a big deal that he got shot. You know, my brother Doug got shot. He goes, my brother Doug got shot. Bullet's still in there. He's fine. You don't hear us out here crying about it. And then you see, when the camera cuts to the ring, Eddie's got up on the side, and you're standing there fixing to start the match. And Eddie looks right in the camera and he points to the side of your head. He goes, bullet went in right here, and he points to your temple. And then Dave's like, oh, come on, Eddie. I think Lance might have even been there at the time, too. He was like, come on, Eddie. Doug didn't get shot. That's nothing to joke about. That was the funniest. I clipped that and put it on our Facebook page, and it got a ton of views. But even like Spellbinder's wife came back and shared it, and he thought it was funny, too. So,
That's cool.
On this card, The battle of the fabulous ones here. Steve Kern wrestled Tommy. Tommy got disqualified. I can't imagine what you would have done, Tommy, to get disqualified against Steve Kern, but that one didn't go your way. And then in the main event, Brian Christopher and Jerry Lawler defeated Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich. Tommy, you had to wrestle back-to-back, man. USWA liked putting you in those situations, didn't they?
Doug never worked twice. You're right. I was a mule that was carrying that load.
Oh, shoot.
I did wrestle twice. That's back in my younger days. Now he takes care of me, so what goes around comes around, I reckon. Because I don't really remember. I mean, if you say I wrestled twice, Ed Marlin had me wrestle 4 times for him one night. So, I guess it don't matter.
There was 8 matches on the card, and they made you wrestle back-to-back, Tommy.
It happened. They just turned around and went home.
Hey,
left me hanging. I think, as a matter of fact, I probably rode down there with Eddie Marlin that night.
Hey, that Tommy was in such good shape then, Gene. He could wrestle 3 or 4 matches straight.
Oh yeah, that was nothing for Tommy.
Hey, but that was some great times. And like I told you before, like me and Tommy wrestling Lawler and Brian, like Tommy wrestling Steve Kern. I know that had to be great, but some of the coolest matches, that we had, there was different angles that people remember more than not. But like a lot of the spot shows where we'd go 30 and 40 minutes and, we'd go as long as we wanted, and there wasn't no time restraints like there was on TV or like there was at the Coliseum. Usually the good deal as far as with me and Tommy, though, even at the Coliseum, the Louisville Gardens and stuff, we could still go basically as long as we wanted because the rest of the show wouldn't go very long. That's what me and Brian would laugh about a lot was, at the spot shows, like if Tommy was off doing other things, which he had other places he worked in also, me and Brian would be there and they'd say, well, the show's still got an hour to go. And we'd look and we'd say, well, how many matches are there before us? And we wouldn't even dress. They'd say, 1. And I said, well, I guess we're going 45 minutes or 50 minutes or something. But it didn't matter because, it was fun. You go out there and you work hard. And like I said, it's usually in the spot shows, it was drawn pretty good back then, good houses and everything. And you loved it. It didn't matter if there wouldn't have been but 10 people there. We'd still worked hard. But, man, it was just cool. Like I said, you get in the groove and, everybody's different. Even if you aren't in the best mood, and I think the good things like all of the bunch that we're talking about right now stayed in a pretty good mood most of the time. But even if you wasn't in the best mood certain days, once you got to the building, you got ready and got ready to work, and it seemed like you was always – Tommy told me one time we always seemed to be in a better mood once it got dark. So after I thought about that a little while, I thought, I guess you're right. We needed to get out maybe that sun. A lot of people need the sun. We needed the dark, I guess, and that's when we started feeling good.
But yeah, it was. Just even if you wasn't in the best mood, where by the time you got to the building and got out there in the ring, it's kind of like the fans. They come and that's kind of a release for them. But really, when we get in the ring, it's kind of like I said. Now, if I had to remember that stuff verbatim for 20, 30 minutes, then it wouldn't be no fun to me. Yeah. But when you get in the ring and you go out there and you play to the crowd, and that was fun going out there and ad-libbing. We didn't have to worry about. And if somebody did something, that the other guy was there to cover. Like if I off a little bit with something, Dougie was always there, because of the timing. It was, it was just a good time. And all the guys were good workers back then, too.
Yeah, and we had, Gene, you can look through some of these cards and look at the other matches me and Tommy was in with these guys, and knock on wood, 90% of the time it was with good guys and guys that would listen. And if they wanted to do something, I would listen and knock on wood, Tommy would too. But it was usually us calling most of the stuff and everything. But it was just getting in the ring and, like I said, working hard. And you don't know how much better you feel after you do go out there and you work hard and you sweat it and everything than when you get back and you think about it a little bit. We'd sit down while we was getting undressed and taking showers and stuff, and we'd talk about it a little bit then. But then pretty much it wasn't talked about. like we get with, like me and Tommy might get with one of the guys maybe the next night and say, well, hey, this was, something that we'd done different. And we'd say, hey, man, that might have been cool or something. But it wasn't ever a big deal. And like one of the guys come up to me one time, and he'd never worked the Memphis territory, and he come back from a match and, oh man, that was the greatest thing. What we done was the greatest thing, and this and that. And I said, yeah, it was pretty good. And then he told me about a couple of weeks later, he said, do y'all not ever tell each other that you think things are good or something's like a great match or something? I said, well, we just want everything to be better. I said, it's not, we don't, I said, I think we just take for granted that the guys we work with or that we're partners with knows that either how, if it is that good or if it's okay. And a lot of times we just come back and say it was okay. A lot of times I would think it was good or really good, but it was that thing of wanting to be better, and wanting everything to always be better. And it was not wanting to think you'd done your best work. You always wanting to think you had it ahead of you.
But we get in the car going back, and do some of the most beautiful spots in the world. But we would talk about if we thought something was messed up. We talk more about that than we would the good. Like, there's a winner and there's a loser in the Super Bowl, but it's the little things, that they talk about what makes a Super Bowl winner and stuff. And we would worry about that more. Like if he thought something was messed up or if I thought, we would talk about that more, and not worry about it, but was that bad or was that, and I mean, that's what we would critique ourselves more than we talked about how good it was, because the people would let us know how good it was. I mean, when you go out and they all standing up and at the end of the night, whether you got screwed and they're ready to get in the ring and fight or you won the match and they all on their feet, you did your job right, but it's the little things you can do to make it better. And I think we critique that more than we did, talk about the good things.
Yeah, and I think so too, but I think a lot of the other territories, Gene, everybody wanted to, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but wanted to hug and talk about how good it was. Well, I think our logic, and Tommy's right, we looked at stuff that we questioned that we didn't think was so good or could it have been better a different way, but we just didn't get in that mood of saying, coming back and just being 100% wide open about that was the greatest thing ever, because what we was looking for was the following week and the following week after that as far as business wise. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we was holding anything back, but we wanted to perform well every week and everything, but we just didn't think we was looking ahead where, like I said, I think in other territories that only worked 2 days a week where them guys could go out there and they was trying to kill each other or whatever the stuff they was doing, they didn't have to work like 8 times in a week like we did, and sometimes maybe 10 times in a week. But what I'm saying, but we worked hard and we wrestled hard and we made sure everything was laid in and stuff, but we also wanted to take care of one another. And I mean, we wasn't to hurt anybody and everything, but like Tommy said, me and him pretty much would critique more of not what was good, because we knew what we thought was good, but what we thought might have could, if we changed something just a little bit, that might have been better.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85. 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like you say, especially when you're doing weekly territory. And if you ever high five and go, well, that's it, as good as it gets. We got to come back next week. That can't be as good as it gets. It's got to get
that. And the bottom line is we got paid for putting butts in the seat. I mean, so you always, but like they said, the talent was, and I'm not saying talent's different today. A lot of these independent shows are different today. But I mean, your first match, I mean, like, you know, all the characters, like on the first match, you naming some of these guys that's on the first match that the 2 weeks from then would be in the main event. You know, we all had our turn because we did do it 7 days a week. So, you know, I mean, and I didn't care about being the main event every night anyway. I mean, if somebody else was up there, that was fine with me. And we was down here doing our thing, building up to go back up to the top. So it was like, you know, everybody rolled around, where today you just got, you know, certain folks and certain folks ain't, you know. So, but everybody had, if you had a clue about the business and knew anything, you would get an opportunity to draw money. And you know, it might be you might start in Tennessee, and they see some potential in you. Jerry sends you to Atlanta, Georgia, you know, for example, and I stay there, and you know, you do a little better, you get better. I got a break there, and he sends me down to Eddie Graham or Bill Watts, every who. But then I get a break, and then you get an opportunity to show you can draw money. And that's the way all of the cards was. Everybody had an opportunity, and plus you wrestle 6-7 days a week. You have a chance. I mean, you could make a living even if you wasn't on top. You could still make a living doing something you love to do. And hey, 50 years later, I still love what I do.
Yeah, and that's the difference between the day. You know, people, it's not necessarily a knock on anybody, but there's guys that have wrestled 10 years in independents now that haven't had as many matches as you guys would have had in 3 months back in those days, just because there's not the opportunity to.
Well, Gene, that's what I'll ask a lot of guys, like me and Tommy are fixing to work with them or do something with them that I don't know. I'll say, I mean, when they start talking to me, I say, man, how long have you been working? And I said, 10 years. Almost all of them say 10 years. That's your standard answer. And I'll say, well, how many times have you worked a month in those 10 years? And they say, oh, once or twice, I think. So you've worked freaking few months or whatever. But your standard answer, and I think it's to that guys think, and I don't think they mean bad by it or nothing, but to get over with guys like Tommy and myself or anything that they've really been around for a while is 10 years. Don't you hear that, Tommy, more than you do anything?
Oh,
you've been working 10 years.
But then well, how many days a week did you work? You know,
Saturday. Is there another day anybody wrestles?
And maybe this ain't business, some of them should be in anyway. But, you know, I worked probably out of 1 year, I probably worked 12 times. You know, I mean, it ain't, you know, like we were wrestling 52 weeks of the, or 51 weeks of the year, whatever. I mean, we wrestled hell when they found out that you could run Christmas and Thanksgiving. Them days, we was working twice on them days. So,
Yeah.
you know, we
Well,
stayed busy. Plus, you're doing live TVs in Memphis. And, oh, shoot.
it was like Gene.
Jackson TV they did too, didn't they, Dougie?
Yeah, and
We
it was like,
Jackson, Eddie Marlin did Jackson TV, right?
yeah, he did. And it was like, this was just a couple weekends ago, and I was trying to think of both situations, but one of the guys walked in the dressing room and he said, they ain't asked you nothing about going under, have they? I looked at Tommy and I said, Tommy, what does going under mean? And then the guy says, I was trying to think what the other remark was, and it was something, Gene, that you would have died laughing at. But I looked at Tommy and I said, what does that mean? I said, I guess I'm not smart for the business anymore. I said, going under, who's asked me to go under, and who had asked me to, it was some other terminology, and Tommy started laughing, said, you know, that's just their lingo. Said, you just don't know their lingo. I said, you're sure right. I don't know their lingo because and nobody ever asked me to go under, and had nobody ever asked me to do whatever else it was that the guy asked me. But I told Tommy, which I looked straight at the guy, I wasn't being smart enough. I said, buddy, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And Tommy started laughing. And Tommy said, you just don't know today's lingo. I said, I dang sure don't know today's lingo.
Actually, I thought he said to the down under. I thought he wanted us to go to Australia.
You thought y'all were getting booked.
Yeah, I thought he had us a booking.
But and the funny thing, it wasn't with me and Tommy, but he was saying somebody asked him to go under, and I said, "What does that mean, go under?" And then, but then again, the next sentence was he said some other, and I wish I could think of what it was, but Tommy died laughing at me. I looked at Tommy, I said, "What does that mean?" Tommy said, "You don't know the new lingo." I said, "I sure don't." But you talking about some funny stuff, Gene. We laughed that night, and I'm gonna tell you, the night in Arkansas, we wrestled two guys, and they was good. They're called. I wish I knew their working names, but the team's called the LA Hustlers. But I actually thought they was really good. I don't know if you've seen them before.
Yeah.
They told me they work on Memphis TV and work for Memphis Wrestling and stuff like that. But they was really good guys too, and had good attitudes, looked good and everything. But I mean,
That one, he was a big old boy.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys have been around for a little while now. Yeah, they're good. They really are.
We had a good match with them. I enjoyed it. I was worried going out, but I was happy coming back.
You just got to get Doug smartened up to all this lingo.
yeah.
Tommy.
I'm just kind of ad-libbing.
He told me he was going to write a dictionary for me, Gene, and put all that,
There you go.
that new lingo in it, and then he's going to tell me for sure what that. I don't know if I'll be able to read that writing that he puts down, but then he's going to tell me what that writing is he puts down in this dictionary for me.
Well, I can't wait for us to read that on the air eventually once that gets finished.
You ain't kidding. This be about the third or fourth time I've been smartened up, I think.
Well, maybe it'll stick one of these days, though.
Yeah, I don't far.
So January 24th, you and Eddie defeated the King and Brian Christopher in a Texas death match. And then
Hey,
go ahead.
I guarantee we had some help.
I'm guessing you might have.
Probably Tommy or three other guys was in the building that helped us because we didn't ever beat them by ourselves.
Yeah, and more shocking. So on the 24th, you guys didn't go under. Y'all went over in the in the Texas death match, and then the following week, Eddie pinned Jerry Lawler to win the unified title on January 21st, right there at the Mid-South Coliseum. And
by golly, we was on a roll there for that month, wasn't we?
definitely on a roll. And then
Well, you know it was drawing good money then.
the following week, Doug, you pinned Brian Christopher to win the USWA heavyweight title and protect your hair in the process. So, man, you guys were on a major roll.
Well, I was fixing to say we must have been doing some really serious blackmailing during that run, wasn't we?
I got a feeling as we keep going through the year here, there may be fortunes may turn around. I don't know. We'll see.
I was fixing to say I wound up losing. I was going to say everything, and actually, I think I probably did lose everything from my hair to my clothes to everything else. I remember being was in this year, I think the same year. When was the Singapore, Gene, do you remember or if y'all don't went through this, you go through it on your USWA podcast.
It wasn't in 93, so I think it's somewhere here in 94.
Oh my gosh, Tommy, you remember overseas they had the Singapore where they whipped the guy in one of the countries with the Singapore cane deal where they caned the dude to death or something like that? Wasn't that what it was, Gene?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a caning. You remember when they used to hit them with sticks, like beat them to death and stuff? So they come up with, Lawler come up with this idea, which, you know, he loved all these gimmick ideas that you've seen that was going on in real life. And he said, well, what we ought to do is have you against Brian in one of those cane matches where whichever one of y'all gets beat gets caned 10 times. And I said, don't that really hurt? And he said, well, I've got this guy that's a professional. He said, and he can do it, and you won't even hardly know that he's hitting you. And I said, okay, yeah, that sounds good. So in Memphis, he did have this guy, and Gene, he was like great. But the build up to the match was who was going to get caned, and they talked about the guy overseas that got caned and to death, you know, and everything to build up to it and everything. So we get to the Mid-South Coliseum. Well, I ain't got to tell y'all who goes over, right, Tommy? Me against Brian. So here Brian goes over, and Lawler tells me, he said, now, Doug, take your top, you know, I'd wear the singlet just like I stood there today. He said, you take it down. He said, even pull your tights down. I said, do what? He said, pull your tights down. He said, take your singlet down. He said, and then we're going to put your hands to the ropes and like maybe put some handcuffs on them or something, and where you're handcuffed with your arms out like this, and, you know, you're standing there with your legs. Now, I done pulled my freaking bottom tights down till I've got my top one down from it's supposed to be across the back. That's why I was like, why don't you pull my freaking lower tights down for? But so anyway, I think that's just rib on me. But anyway, so I'm standing there. Well, he's got this guy, and everybody in Memphis knows him, and he's like a judo type, you know, some kind of whatever, whoever uses those sticks and stuff. But he rears back, and he pops me, and when he pops me, it makes the biggest noise, but it don't really hurt real bad. So I thought, well, dang, this guy actually knows what he's doing. This is actually not a big rib on me. So every time he hits me, I really sell it. 10th time he hit me, they let me go. Brian grabs the thing, hits me over the head. I take a bump on my back. I roll out, sell my back, right? Well, the thing that Lawler didn't tell me was, you know, this goes all around the loop, right, Gene?
Oh, yeah.
The only guy that he knows to do this is in Memphis.
Oh,
so
no.
In Louisville, Evansville, and Nashville, Brian's the one that canes me. And in Louisville, I said, I didn't even think about it till we got to Louisville. And I said, who are we going to get to do this like that guy did? Because the guy was perfect. Gene, he would rear back and he'd hit you and the thing would pop, but it wasn't like hit you. It was like he was working, you know, he could work it. He knew what he was doing. Well, Brian didn't know what he was doing, and he freaking hit me. And about the third time, I just went in like this, and I was going, ugh. And he said, turn around. He said, I'll just hit you on the head. I said, no, go on to 10. And boy, I took it. And when I got done and when I spun around to him, he hit me in the head, I took a bump. And I got out. When I got to the back, I went to the mirror and looked, and he'd hit me. There was like whelps sticking out on my back, like 2 inches for each of those shots. And I thought, boy, I'm the biggest Marky Mark in the world. But you talking about,
I probably did that stuff thinking it was funny too.
Oh yeah, but like I said, after he'd hit me 3 times, he realized how bad it was. He said, "Just turn around." He wasn't going to give me the other 7. He just wanted to hit me in the head and me get out of there. But then I said, "Damn mad," me being hard headed. I said, "No, you give me the other 7." So here I take 10 of them, and I think when I go to the back and they take a picture, said, "We want this for the program." I thought, big dummy me, yeah, well, you want it for the program. But so that's just a funny story in itself. But that shows the different links we went to things to make everybody, you know, make sure everything was real that we done.
You guys certainly did. And so we're going to jump ahead a little bit here to March, to the Memphis Memories event on March the 7th at the Mid-South Coliseum. Big card here. We'll run through it real quick. Opening match saw Skull Von Crush and the Nightmares, Danny Davis and Ken Wayne, defeat Jeff Gaylord, King Cobra, and the Spellbinder. Second match, JC Ice versus Wolfie D. Double count out.
Six man tag on your first match. That Memphis, they had some big matches there at that Coliseum, man.
Hey, Gene, we got a promo picture one time from a guy, and as you know, a Skull Von Crush, and you know what, when he come out of wrestling school, you know the promo pictures that he sent out, like he sent down here.
Mm-hmm.
It was with Skull was always bald headed and everything, right? Well, he had a light bulb in his mouth, and they had a battery hooked to the light bulb, and it come out, and it was on, and his gimmick name was Uncle Chester. Remember?
Oh my! I was just about to say Uncle Fester. When you said the light bulb, I was like, "Oh my God, it'd be like Uncle Fester from Addams Family."
On the paper, and he wrote that he'd like to
and Lawler didn't run with that.
Uncle Chester, but now he never worked as that down here. But Skull Von Crush was his other gimmick. But when he sent that, he sent a picture of him with a light bulb coming out of his mouth, and that got over me. And I've never forgot that. But he sent that to the office, and like anything that went to the office, pretty much that was kind of cool or different looking, they'd bring us and show us and stuff. And I thought I'll never. That's just one I'll never forget.
He's on Facebook. Yeah, we may need to round up for this show sometime too.
Yeah. But that match, okay, you can go on. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, you're good.
Said that's a 6-man just starting off. What do we have after that?
And that's when you know Jerry Jarrett's not booking at the time. When you start to show off with the 6-man tag, which we're running under Lawler booking right here. So JC Ice, Wolfie D, double count out. Third match, Coco Beware defeats Billy Joe Travis. I bet that was a fun match.
You ain't kidding. But Coco did a lot of dancing.
Tommy Rich defeats Handsome Jimmy Valiant by disqualification. Jimmy Valiant got himself disqualified against Tommy.
I bet that's a doozy in its own too.
Oh yeah, hey, I'll tell you what. I used to love to wrestle Boogie, man. He was so easy, especially being a baby. He was over. I mean, Jerry was a man, but I'm gonna tell you what. If there's anybody close, Boogie. I mean, in that Memphis was Boogie's time. Yeah.
Never a hard night against Handsome Jimmy, I imagine, but always a lot of fun.
Oh no. Boogie didn't like to work stiff. He didn't like that. I mean, but he was so light. I mean, I remember when I first met him, he was like, 260, 270, just solid, I mean, he was big, yeah, he was in shape, man.
But you know what, Tommy? Think about it, and everybody, and what you're saying is exactly right. Yeah, he didn't like for you to do too much to him, but all this stuff, if you think about it or you watch it, 99% of it looked great. What he done, I mean, it looked, believable, and he didn't want you to do too much to him, and he wasn't going to do too much to you. But his stuff that he done looked good. I mean, everything was believable and stuff. I mean, which he was his character, and everybody knew that character and loved Handsome Jimmy. But I mean, his stuff looked good when he worked in those serious feuds with Lawler and different matches with Tommy and different guys like my brother and all those big programs. Gene, look at some of that stuff. People talks about him not wanting you to do too much to him, but the stuff looked so believable.
Oh yeah.
But you didn't have to do too much. I mean, you didn't have to do. I mean, because and what he did, like you said, it looked. I mean, it was all believable. I mean, and that's the art of the business. I mean, we talk about some of them old school boys like the Funks and Briscoes and your dad. I mean, they love that good solid. That's what they liked, and then there was some that liked that. Working part too. I was kind of in between because I learned from both. I like that Hollywood part much better.
I mean, it suited some people. Like, I'll watch Tommy Gilbert and Lou Thez go out there and have a wrestling match. I don't want to see the Boogie Woogie Man out there trying to wrestle somebody. I don't need that.
Lou Thez either. I mean, them were like I said, that was one of the first matches that I just went, oh, when Tommy come across and drop kick Lou Thez, and he went over that damn top rope. I thought, oh my God, this stuff is real. I mean, and they got in, and the rest of it was real too. I mean, they got in there, and they did some high spots, but it was some good solid wrestling too.
But
It was, and that's like Austin Idol. I mean, he's another one that I draw money there in Memphis with. That what he did was solid, but he sure didn't like you to pull his hair.
yeah, he didn't do that much, but what he done was believable. And I mean, but he had to have people that work with him to do that stuff, and the same with Jimmy, like you said, Gene. People didn't want to see Jimmy in a wrestling match. No. They wanted to see him in a match that Hanson was going to have, and guys that was around him knew what that type match was, and that's the reason what would always keep him over. And with Idol, I mean, you had to have the right people with Idol, or it wasn't going to work, right, Tommy?
Yeah, but between Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler, I mean, they knew what clicked. I mean, they knew what clicked. I mean, and like Dougie said before, though, they would give you the opportunity to where if you had an idea, now Jerry Lawler, he would take it and just go with it, where Jerry Jarrett would wait a week or two and then use it. Yeah. I mean, he wanted to be his idea, Jerry did. But they were all pretty loose. I mean, and like other territories, I'm sure other guys could put their 2 cents worth in, but we were lucky we had something to say. They would listen anyway.
Now, this next match, I'm willing to bet there wasn't a single wrestling hold in the entire match, as the Moondogs, Rex and Spot, with Ronnie Lotz, defeated Dr. Frank and Leatherface in 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
No, I bet there wasn't a bunch of holes in that one. It didn't go.
Hammerlock one.
I bet there was a bunch of chair shots and I ain't sure what else. A bunch of kicks and punches and chair shots, and that'd have been all you'd got in that 2 minutes or whatever you said.
Yep. And then the next match, semi-main, Universal Heartthrob, Austin Idol, Brian Christopher, and Jerry the King Lawler defeated Dangerous Doug Gilbert, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, and Terry Funk by disqualification. Man, what a team. That whole match there, man, that's that could have been a main event, but it's not our main event. We got another one after it, but what do you know about that 6-man?
Just from that first match to where you at now is unreal. It's just unreal to think about the talent that was on these cards back then.
And man, Gene, it's so cool to listen for you to go over this and me just listen to it, because man, just thinking back about those matches like that night and being in the ring with those guys and such great workers. Like I said, you know how much money Tommy's drawn there in Memphis, how much money the King's drawn, Idol's drawn, Funk's drawn. I mean, my brother's drawn. I mean, look at all the, sometimes I wish I could have started a couple years earlier, but I'm one of the ones that is actually lucky that I got in on the end of all this great stuff and everything, and still in it today and everything. But I mean, I've seen so much and got to work with so many great workers, and 90% of the workers that I grew up watching, that I idolized and everything, that was great workers that drew a ton of money. And there was someone as a kid that was older that I didn't have a chance to work with. But I mean, a ton of the guys, what you're talking about right now, listen, that talent right there on that Monday night, just listen to what was there. It's just awesome.
I mean, I know I've said it before, but I can just imagine on opposite sides of the ring, you and Brian looking around, and there you're teamed up with your brother and Terry Funk, and there's Brian teamed up with his dad and Austin Idol. And knowing how much Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler meant to Eddie, and just all around,
And you go back to Gene, to me and Brian, me being 2 years older than Brian, but me being 12 years old and him being 10 years old, and us sitting he'd sit on one side of the front row at the Coliseum, and I'd sit on the other side, or with Lance one at the Coliseum. And, then you wind up, like I said, we wind up in matches like this and getting to work with the guys that we have actually grew up idolizing. And I mean, it's a cool deal. And like I said, I'm very fortunate that I've had the great run with Tommy, and Tommy be one of my best friends in the world and everything, but people don't realize what stuff like that actually mean to me. I mean, it's we can go over this 5 times, but you won't realize how much all that stuff means to me.
So listen to this main event. There's a lot of times matches are given names, and sometimes the name's accurate, sometimes the name's not. But this one is called a Best of Memphis match. And man, I don't know of many more people you could add to this, maybe a few. But here you got a 10-man survival match. So basically what that means is there's 10 guys around the ring. There's 8 guys around the ring, I should say, that can be tagged. 2 men start it. Anybody can tag anybody here,
it's
right?
10-man tag, basically.
But there's no teams, right? Anybody could tag anybody more or less, right?
Gene, what if we changed the rules on that and said the first one that went out actually won?
That would have been interesting, right?
Who would have won?
Well, let's go down the list of names here, and then we'll take a vote after. So, in this match, Jerry the King Lawler, Austin Idol, Brian Christopher, Doug Gilbert, Eddie Gilbert, Jimmy Valiant, Coco Beware, Moondog Spot, Terry Funk, and Tommy Rich. Now, based on history of those 10 people, who might have been a suspect to be the first one eliminated? Tommy, are you getting
I'd say I was the first one eliminated because if I didn't win, I didn't want to be in there very long.
Well, you didn't get your wish that night.
I've seen this match a few times. I remember.
Who's the first one?
You know what, Gene?
It wasn't me, but they're on the screen right now.
Hey, Gene, this must have been real, though. Look, I watched that the other day. You put that on there, and I remember the night and the match because I just the history, and I think that is so cool and everything. But that must have been, they said, hey, Doug, we want you to do a spot with every one of these baby faces before they eliminate you. Tell me, like the first 6 minutes or something, Gene, it's just me in there with all 5 of them guys, right? And Tommy and Eddie and Terry Funk and who was our other partner, or kind of our partner, not our partner, but remember
Moondog Spot.
Yeah, and Moondog. Tommy, you, Eddie, Terry Funk, and Spot might as well have been in the freaking on the front row watching with some popcorn or something because I didn't get any help out of that first 6 minutes. But every guy on the other side come in the ring and did at least a spot or something, wasn't it, Gene? But I was watching that the other day and I popped. I thought, this just must have been a big reel on me that Tommy and Eddie was pulling.
They could have called this Doug Gilbert versus the Best of Memphis match, where you just took on every top star, every top babyface in Memphis history.
Hey, you know the best thing, Gene, they could have done was that last babyface, then him went and tagged Tommy or one of them, let them got in and done a spot with him before they eliminated him.
But man, this really is a who's who, a Best of Memphis. I mean, I guess you maybe could mix in, Bill Dundee and, maybe like Jackie Fargo if he was still kicking around. But this is for 1994. I don't know that you could have found many more guys in one match to represent the best of the best in Memphis. I know you watched it recently, Doug, so we won't ask you. But Tommy, any guesses out of that field of 10 of who won the Best of Memphis match in 1994?
Yeah.
Well, you wasn't put out first, Tommy, so you still in there somewhere.
I'm still in there, but I'm thinking I ain't last. I mean, if I was a bet man, I'd bet on Jerry Lawler.
Well, this time you would be correct, Tommy. It was against all odds. Jerry the King Lawler managed to win.
God, he had me looking like a moron, Jerry Lawler did. I thought if you want to be on top in Tennessee, you got to work with Lawler because you ain't going to be the top babyface. Hell, I was just starting. Lawler, of course, he might have been a heel then. He had me burnt. My ribs hurt, burnt stuff. And then he cut my hair, and I went around for 2 weeks like patches all cut out of my head. And that's what we used to dedicate. I should have went and shaved my head, but they made me look silly. Go around the loop about 2 weeks so everybody could see my nappy head. But yeah, that's what we did for the business too back then. I mean, yeah.
Like a puppy.
He had the mange.
Yeah.
Oh, it was awful.
Oh man.
Hey, but the people didn't have no choice but to believe it.
And that's what it was about. I mean, and that's like we talked about Valiant or Idle and just any of the guys. I mean, people loved and believed the business, and we worked just as hard to make them believe, So, it's just a great time.
Look in that ring that night, Gene, at the different guys, and look at just the gimmicks as far as in the ring that night. I mean, look at Tommy, look at my brother, look at Funk, look, like you said, Spot, I guess, myself. Look across the ring. Look at the King, Idol, Brian. Who else you say it was? Coco.
Mm-hmm.
Coco, and who was the fifth?
Austin Idol, Lawler, Brian, and Coco.
Yeah, now ain't that? I mean, look at that cast of characters. Is that not? I mean, just those guys, if that was just a card for the night.
To get all 10 of them in the building at the same time, just draw a house, but let alone have them all 10 in the ring at the same time, that is pretty heavy.
Oh, yeah. Folks got their money's worth that night. But you know what? Here's what happened. The King won the Best of Memphis match. The crowd popped. Everybody was happy. And then you guys proceeded to beat his ass after it was over with. The King got left laying. And the next week, we got to wrap this one up. But just as a little teaser for folks whenever we finish this up, the following week, because you're like, how do you follow that? My goodness, what are we going to do? Well, the next week, it was a 6-man tag. It was Doug Gilbert, Eddie Gilbert, and Tommy Rich taking on Brian Christopher, Jerry Lawler. But a lot of those guys had left town. They were just in for one night. Jimmy Hart shows up on the phone on TV the following Saturday morning. And he's like, King, baby, I got you a tag team partner. And for the first time since 1985, Dream Machine shows up.
Hey, hold on. That wasn't Jimmy Hart. That was Bert, wasn't it?
Oh, Lord. Bert's down here, but Jimmy's up here, baby. You got to have your eyebrows up when you do Jimmy. Bert's a little more hunched over.
But so Jimmy Hart, who did he bring in?
Dream Machine Troy Graham. Hadn't seen him in all those years. And here he's back as a babyface partner to Jerry Lawler and Brian Christopher.
But I used to play. I'm Dream Machine. He did the promo, twisted barbed wire, eating dog stink, or whatever it was. I mean, he could have done a promo, man. I can't. I wish I could remember one about the barbed wire, because
I got to learn that
one. I love to hear him do that one. But old Dream Machine, that's a blast from the past.
What was it? What was it, Gene? Walk 1,000 miles barefoot on barbed wire? I was trying to think the whole.
Something about it ends with 9,000 buckshots is the end of it. But I got to go back.
It was cool, and he was on it too. Dream Machine. Yeah, Memphis hero right there, Dream Machine. Yeah, but Troy Graham, right?
That's him.
Troy Graham.
But Gene, I guarantee you, there was probably a pop after Hart did it and said the Dream Machine, right? Have you seen the episode lately? And I guarantee you probably
it had been so long since anybody had seen him. And of course, at first, Lawler and Brian and Christopher were a little apprehensive. Lawler's like, yeah, I remember this guy, Jimmy. Whenever I broke my leg and I come back for my first match back, this guy's the guy you had standing across the ring from me, and he kind of went down the list of every bad thing that Dream had ever done to him.
And what was cool, and I mean, this has nothing to do with it, but it makes me think about it. But Troy being there and them saying he was the one that broke his leg, and then you remember the night Lawler returned and come out with his King thing. It had the crown on when he come back against the Dream Machine, and it was like sold out and everything after he'd been off 6 months. And I mean, they went around the loop for weeks and weeks and done great business. Troy was good. He could talk, like Tommy said. I mean, he could talk his way in or out of whatever he needed to. And I mean, he could work too. And I mean, Troy was a tough guy. I mean, me and Tommy both always got along real well with Troy.
Well, spoiler, he doesn't stay on Lawler's side very long, but we'll talk about that more in the future. Because we are out of time, guys. We only got to March here in 1994, but that's cool. That leaves us plenty more to talk about in the future. Steiner brothers come to town not long after this. There's a lot of interesting stuff that goes on in 94, and we'll talk more about it as we move along here on Dangerous Conversations. But guys, is there anything else we want to cover or anything you want to say before we wrap this one up?
Well, a quick fact, I'm glad I wasn't there when the Steiners came in.
Well, Gene, I just want to say thanks everybody for listening and following. And like I said, rate, review, and subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on. If you want a pro wrestling T-shirt for the Memphis Mafia, go Pro Wrestling Tees. Gene's got a store also you can go to and get us some Memphis Mafia merch on. And everywhere, we just want to tell everybody thanks for listening. Hey, listen, we'll be here next week and just listen in. And me and Tommy have a lot of stuff to talk about. And I know Gene's got a lot of knowledge to throw on you. Hey, peace. We're out.
Hey, and I hope everybody's having as much fun as I am telling this story, man. Love y'all.
Before we get out of here, I just want to take a moment to remind everyone, if you have an upcoming wrestling show, autograph signing, collector show, Comic-Con, or any event or booking that you would like to inquire about the services of Dangerous Doug Gilbert and or Tommy Wildfire Rich, just send us an email at douggilbertpodcast@outlook.com, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible to get more information on your event and do the best we can to make that happen. Also, if you are interested in advertising your event, your business, your product to the listeners of Dangerous Conversations, as well as to promote your event, business, or product across all our social media platforms, you can send that inquiry to douggilbertpodcast@outlook.com. We would love to work together with you to get that out there to the listeners of Dangerous Conversations. Remember to check out douggilbertpodcast.com. There you can find links to all things related to this podcast, as well as Doug and Tommy themselves. You'll find a link to the Dangerous Conversations Facebook page and the Dangerous Conversations Twitter, now known as X. And we're always posting content daily, involving the Gilbert family, Tommy Rich, all sorts of things from their career. We got magazine articles, videos, pictures, you name it. We're posting new content every single day. Make sure you follow so you don't miss out on any of that. Plus, you can follow Doug and Tommy's personal Facebook pages on there. Dangerous Doug Gilbert. You can search that on Facebook. You can also search Tommy Wildfire Rich. They both have Facebook pages. And Doug does have an X page as well, and you can follow them there. But if you really want to help support, you can go to the Gilbert Family Pro Wrestling Tees store, which there's a link to there on the douggilbertpodcast.com. And you can find T-shirts of Doug, Eddie, and their famous father, Tommy Gilbert, as well. Also, Tommy Rich is going to be having some T-shirts coming up very soon. Follow him on Facebook. We'll be talking about him here. But look for some cool new Tommy Wildfire Rich T-shirts coming out soon that you can partake in as well. Also, if you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on the platform of your choice. It would really help us in building up the podcast for the future. Plus, it helps us know what you like, what you don't like, where we need to take this podcast moving forward. Also, if you want to see a whole bunch of matches, promos, and angles, a lot of the ones that you're going to hear us talk about on this very podcast, you can go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@RetroWrestlingArchive. Of course, it's linked right there at douggilbertpodcast.com, and you will find a ton of matches featuring Eddie Gilbert, Tommy Gilbert, Doug Gilbert, Tommy Wildfire Rich. There's playlists of all them that feature hundreds of matches of each of them. So make sure you go check that out. And not just of them, there are thousands, literally, at this point, of videos from wrestling from across the territory days, you name it. If we don't have the video uploaded to our channel, we at least have organized you a playlist of just about every territory, every show that's out there. You can find it in one convenient location there on YouTube at the Retro Wrestling Archive. Plus, don't forget, you can find all things related to my popular Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast at uswapodcast.com. And last but certainly not least, we are proud to be a part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Go on over to WrestleCopia.com to check out all the great pro wrestling related podcasts and various content that our friend Ray Russell provides you. You'll be glad you did. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week for another episode of Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich.
In the heart of Tennessee, born with pride, Doug and Tommy taking rings in stride. Memphis legends never backing down. Wrestling warriors, they wear the crown. USWA, glory in their veins. Fighting legends breaking chains. In the square circle they made their name. Podcast champions, it's their claim to fame. On the mic they rode, on the map they soared. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage. From title belts to Hall of Fame, Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast